Mayor,
Mayor.
Mayor, can I remind everyone to talk directly into the mic, straight on into the mic. Talk straight on into the mic, please.
And make sure it's on.
Correct.
It goes off and on.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Mark, would you do the invocation, please, sir?
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for your love and mercy and grace, Lord. Just guide us tonight as we do the work, Lord, of our citizens in our town, Lord. And we thank you for our staff. We thank you, Lord, for all the blessings you give us each and every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay. There's the flag. Okay. All righty. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, I welcome everyone. Item number 5 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in,
Mayor,
Mayor.
we'll need to poll the board like we normally do.
that's right, I'm sorry.
So I believe motion was made by Councilman Moy, seconded by Councilman Moore to approve the agenda as presented. I'll poll the board, starting with Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Moy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson,
Yes.
and Councilman Moore.
Yes.
I believe we have all votes in favor of approving the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, item number 6 is, looks like 6 proclamations. Do we need to read each one of those or not?
Mayor, staff submitted them in bulk for you. I believe Don, our town clerk, Mr. Harvey, is prepared to give you an overview of all of them, but not read each one unless council desires that.
I'm satisfied with that.
So I
That'd
think
be
Mr.
fine.
Harvey's prepared to give you an overview of the proclamations.
As the mayor said, there are 6 proclamations this month. I'd like to give just a summary of each one. First is Rebuilding Together Month for April of 2021. This is the month to recognize Rebuilding Together Pitt County, dedicated for their help to low-income homeowners with critical home repairs and modifications for accessibility and aging in place. The second is Spring Litter Sweep Week, April 10th through the 24th. This is to urge residents of our community to participate in activities to commemorate this event and help make Winterville a more beautiful place to live, work, and play. Number 3 is the Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 18th through the 24th. This is a time to celebrate Volunteer Appreciation Week and to honor volunteers for the irreplaceable impact of their time and energy year-round. Number 4, Earth Day, which is April the 22nd, to encourage all residents to join the town in celebrating the earth, recognizing climate change as a challenge that needs solutions, and choosing small ways to combat climate changes each day. Arbor Day on April 30th, to urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day by planting trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And number 6, Municipal Clerk Week, which is May 2nd through the 8th, to recognize and extend appreciation to municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their dedication to the communities they represent. Council, Mayor, thank you for that.
Thank you, Don. Okay, item number 7 is public comment, and we have one person that has signed up for this, and the council voted years and years ago that when we have someone that wants to speak, that the mayor has to, supposed to read the policy about it. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council on any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made to the council during the meeting except during the public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the or limited, or can you read tonight, or may address addressed by the speaker may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council comment period meeting, or may refer the matter to the town staff for disposition. Copies of the public comment policy are available in the rear of the assembly room. With that being said, the person that has signed up is Ms. Chantel Hawkins.
Mayor, I believe Ms. Hawkins is on the phone with us this evening. Ms. Hawkins, are you with us?
Just can't hear you.
Okay, hold on. I don't think we can hear you. Evan, will you bear with us one moment, okay? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and proceed so that I can abide by my 3 minutes. I would like to first start by defining the word humanity. That is compassionate or generous behavior or disposition of being humane. This should exist and be afforded to all by a minimum of acknowledgement and by a maximum of mutual respect and cordial exchange. I'm going to next define community. That is being amongst a common living area or organized fellowship and goals. This should continue to be established here in the town of Winterville through transparency of all information, inclusivity of opportunities, and consistency in communication, not by will, but by willfulness. Next, I'm going to finally define the word dignity. It is of being worthy of honor and respect. This should be both honored and promoted here in Winterville through the ways of operation, decision-making, and the total scope of not only listening to the constituents, but attempting to be part of their experiences and perspectives. Why constituents behave the way they do or reach out the way they do. Tonight I speak to all who care to care, and I just want to extend my voice to see how Winterville can uphold those 3 caveats. And too much is given, much is required, and by one famous Pinocchio, which we may think is fiction, but is far true. Please let your conscience be your guide. I thank you all for giving me this time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. All right, moving on to item number 8 is the consent agenda or any items that need to be removed. If not, do I hear a motion we can approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Mayor, I believe we have a motion from Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Robertson, to approve the consent agenda as presented. With that, I'll start the poll of the board. Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Moy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson?
Yes.
And Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Mayor, I believe we have votes all in favor of the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, all righty, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 9. Excuse me. On the old business, Human Relations Board bylaws.
Mayor, members of the council, back several months ago, you all recall taking action to formally put together a human relations, we're calling it board, for the town of Winterville. At that time, we had some draft bylaws that you all took under consideration, and the town attorney submitted some potential changes or some recommended changes. I know Ms. Robertson put forward her thoughts, and we've tried to update the draft as best as we were directed, and you have another draft before you this evening for discussion and approval if you all are ready to do so.
Make sure I understand exactly, are they ready to be approved, or?
Well, it's still in draft form, and there's some other things that have to be decided, some specifics like meeting date, meeting times, things of that nature. But I'm certainly ready for you all to move forward to the extent you feel comfortable. I also included for your information the copy of the ordinance that you all passed creating the board, and also the copy of the presentation that Councilwoman Robertson sent us from the state with respect to basically the steps you would take in creating a human relations commission or board in your local area. And there's some training and things that we can undertake and have you all undertake as you're ready once the board gets underway.
Okay.
It's making sure we bring it back up, keep it fresh, have you all discuss as you are ready to discuss, and move forward as you're ready to move forward.
Anyone have any questions?
Do you have a copy of those?
In your packet? It was sent in the agenda that was emailed to everyone.
I'm looking at the agenda
Electronic.
now.
I'm sorry,
It's on page 50,
Oh,
but I have a hard copy I can bring you.
start on page 55.
55,
Yeah, page 55.
thank you.
It looks like, the first page looks like that, Councilman Moore.
I hadn't even pulled
Okay.
mine.
Thank you.
So you'll see the bylaws that start with Human Relations Board, the cover page, and then that's a few pages. Then you have the ordinance creating the Human Relations Board that has already been approved. And then you have a fairly lengthy copy of the PowerPoint that we obtained from, or Councilwoman Robertson obtained and forwarded from the state for our information.
Where is it down on mine? I couldn't even find it.
Everybody have it?
There we go. Okay, I think.
Again, this is for, just to bring it back up, to put it back out there, and to proceed as you all feel comfortable with proceeding.
You need a motion on that?
I would, yes, sir, in whatever fashion you're prepared to put forward a motion.
I'd like to place a motion that we'll continue on with what we have in place at this time. I'll make that motion.
Councilman Moy, I didn't understand you. Is that approving the draft as you have been presented?
Yes.
Okay.
Second?
Mayor, we have a motion to approve this draft made by Councilman Moy, seconded by Councilman Moore. And with that, I'll poll the board. Again, there are some specifics we'll have to decide that will fill in the blank, so to speak, related to meeting nights, times, et cetera, but we can certainly move forward with the draft as they've been presented. And I'll start with Councilman Smith,
No.
Councilman Moy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines,
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson,
Yes.
and Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Okay, I believe we have 4 votes in favor of approving the bylaws and 1 vote against approving the bylaws. So therefore, the bylaws
Or-
are approved.
Motion passes, okay. All right, moving on to new business. On the item number 10, the MetroLink agreement.
So Mayor, members of the council, I contacted you last week to give you an update on where the town is in negotiations with MetroNet. And for members of the public who might be listening, MetroNet would be the new internet and cable company that is proposing to construct and bring their business to the town of Winterville. They are currently moving forward with construction in Greenville, and I recently read that they're in negotiations with the city of New Bern as well. So in order for us to move forward, we've had a few meetings at staff level, and we have 3 agreements that we will need to move forward with in order to have construction begin. And those 3 agreements are, there's a generalized, what they call letter agreement. You have a copy of that in draft form. We have a right-of-way agreement, which you have in front of you in draft form. And we also have a pole attachment agreement. And the right-of-way agreement and pole attachment agreement may sound familiar to you because we have executed like documents in the past with the current company that we've historically done business with. The copies of the drafts of the documents that you have, like I said, are in draft form. And as I explained, this sort of took a fast increase or an increase in the speed of the process, as there will be construction starting in the city of Greenville later this month, and part of that area will encompass or be right beside two neighborhoods in Winterville. And so they would like to try to construct simultaneously if we have all of our agreements in place and not miss any opportunity. So I'll let Keen take over. I know that we are still, may have a few items we need to discuss after tonight, but I know that staff is going to ask you all to approve these 3 agreements contingent upon attorney and staff review. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Keen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I have reviewed the 3 agreements. The letter agreement is very straightforward and, quite frankly, pretty short. The right-of-way agreement and the pole attachment agreement are, I'd say, somewhat closely based on the current right-of-way agreement and pole attachment agreement that we've got with what I'll still call Sudden Link. So it's not a brand-new, document we've never seen before. There were some changes to it that staff put together, but those documents we're somewhat familiar with. I've reviewed all 3. I do have a couple points that I want to go back to MetroNet and discuss. Nothing that I would say, in my opinion, is substantive, just sort of minor points that I want to run past them. And should have that email out to them tomorrow. If anything comes back from them that myself and Terry think that changes the nature of the agreement or is substantive, then I think it would be incumbent upon us to bring it back to you for your further consideration. But other than that, I just want to let you know that I have reviewed the agreements, and subject to your questions, that's all I have.
And if I could, additionally, the pole attachment agreement, there's a monthly fee for, 1 fee for poles that we own solely, and then another fee for poles that are jointly owned. And I would ask, I know Mr. Sutton's listening, I want him to jump in if I get anything wrong, but we presented what we currently have in the agreement with Sudden Link, and I believe that those prices and basically the agreement in total, with a couple of exceptions, were agreed to by MetroLink in principle. So there weren't a lot of changes in that agreement. We felt good with that. The right-of-way agreement is pretty straightforward. Would you agree, Keen, in terms of its verbiage?
Oh, yeah. It's, as I said, it's based on the agreement that we have with Sudden Link, so very straightforward.
And very similar to the agreements that the City of Greenville and Greenville Utilities executed with MetroNet as well. And the letter agreement is fairly straightforward, as you can see, with the language that covers the agreement between the 2 entities. And then ultimately, as an exhibit, you see some of the construction sort of guidelines that will take place. So we feel confident that they're good agreements, and again, Keen's going to give it his eye as he normally does, and once I know that he's good with it, then we'll move forward with getting them executed, assuming council's comfortable.
Terry,
Yes, sir.
the area where they are speaking of starting at here in the town of Winterville, would that be considered like a gateway right into our town, or it just because of the starting point that they have in Greenville?
If I understood you correctly, I certainly think that they want to take every opportunity to construct collectively where it is geographically beneficial. Obviously, that's costs advantageous to them, but also it would get things started in town. And I'm not sure what happens if we miss the opportunity to have them construct simultaneously. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we move this up and got it before you all as quickly as possible. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
and the neighborhood that it's starting at, they have been notified already, is that
Not-
correct?
Not yet, because we can't notify anybody until we have the agreements in place.
Okay,
But there is a process that is in place for how the town will be notified, how permits, applications for permits will be made and then considered and approved, and then how residents will be, that desire the service would be notified that construction's coming, and then ultimately how folks can sign up for service if they so choose. So once we have an agreement from council to move forward in total, we can certainly assist in getting the word out, and we'll do that all along construction to make sure residents know what's happening.
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue with the agreement with MetroNet.
Second.
So if I could, I think we would need individual motions on each agreement.
Yeah, I think considering these three agreements are rather distinct and different, if council wouldn't mind, make a motion on each individual one
Okay.
that the town adopt,
right.
work through the three.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion on the letter of agreement with MetroNet.
Second.
Mayor, I believe we have a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, seconded by Councilman Moore to approve the letter agreement with MetroNet in its draft form contingent upon a town attorney and staff review. I will start polling the board with Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Moy,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Hines.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson. And Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Mayor, I believe we have votes all in favor of approving the letter agreement in its current form, subject to or contingent upon town attorney and staff review.
I've had a lot of comments that really approve the action that the town has taken on this.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the poll attachment agreement that has been in place.
I second that motion, Ricky Hines.
Mayor, we have a motion made by Councilman Moy, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hines to approve the poll attachment agreement as is submitted contingent upon town attorney and staff review. With that said, I'll start the poll of the board. Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Moy?
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Hines?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson? Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Mayor, we have all votes in favor of approving the poll attachment agreement as presented, subject to town attorney and staff review.
Okay, I just wondered, is that agreement about the same it is with Southern Link now?
It's close. It's got some a few updated things in it, but it closely also resembles the agreement that GUC has with MetroNet.
Is the price the same?
Yes, sir.
I think, you know, way back when the town approved this for Southern Link, there was quite a bit of discussion about that we would not, some felt that we were not charging enough.
Well,
Rent, if you want to call it that. And-
we are limited in what we can charge, so you just can't charge anything. But I will say that comparatively speaking, we charge more than other places charge.
Okay, just a question.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the right-of-way agreement with MetroNet.
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, seconded by Councilman Moore to approve the right-of-way agreement as presented, contingent upon town attorney and staff review. I'll start polling the board with Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Moy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson.
Yes.
And Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Mayor, I believe we have votes all in favor of approving the right-of-way agreement as presented, contingent upon town attorney and staff review.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Folks, thank you very much. Keen and I will work diligently with staff to try to make sure we've got everything in order and have our full discussions, get those executed, and as soon as we can release where construction will start, we will let everyone know.
Mayor, sorry. Again, thank you, Terry, and the staff for jumping on this MetroNet thing, because I know it was kind of quick, and we appreciate the due diligence y'all done to get this pulled together. And thank you too, King, for doing all the legwork behind the scene.
Competition is always good, and
Amen.
Southern Lake needs competition. Try to call it.
Badly.
Try to go to their office and pay them. It's not easy. The competition hopefully will help our citizens.
I think many of us have experienced those difficulties with Southern Lane, and we do appreciate the work that you put into this proposal, the letter, the poll attachment, and the right-of-way agreement. And one of those folks, you know, I read stuff, and I read it, and there was a lot of details in it, a lot of technical terms. I did not understand it all, and therefore you all were doing a good job technically on this and everything. And I thank you as one of the citizens of Winterville for that attention to it and attention to our concerns with Southern Lake. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I have to give staff credit and Keen. It's been a concerted collective effort, and also MetroNet's been good to work with thus far in moving things along as well. So we will certainly try to stay on top of it and make sure that we do everything we can to make it as smooth of a transition as possible. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, item 2 is the COLA adjustment for employees.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the COLA adjustment for employees.
I'll second.
Mayor, we have a motion made by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Robertson to approve the COLA adjustment for all employees as presented. I'll start with a poll of the board. Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman Moy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson?
Yes.
And Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Well, folks, let me thank you on behalf of all employees for doing what you just did. They worked really hard, and I know they'll all appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And thank you again to staff for looking back at this proposal and deciding that, you know, and giving our employees a pat on the back for what they've done and the appreciation about making it retroactive.
Thank you all very much.
I think that says a lot about what they've done.
Absolutely.
Make it retroactive for them, and I know they'll appreciate it.
Okay, move on, item number 11 is downtown parking.
I've been approached by a few people, Mayor, about why we're going to have additional parking spaces across the street at the Live Oak Brewery, and ask staff to add some parking spaces.
So I'd like to give a little update on that if I could. Staff has sort of taken a multi-pronged approach to parking downtown, because as exciting as it is for everything going on, we're obviously we already have a problem sometimes, and we're gonna just have additional issues if we don't address it. So what we're trying to do is we have a young lady working with us as a planning intern, and Mr. Jones, Brian, has had Haley working on sort of a map of downtown parking and identifying potential areas that we could expand spaces, mark off spaces, and potentially look at increasing parking. And our market plan for the property across from the public safety building, you all have approved concept for that property, and part of that included an addition to the public parking over there. So we would have some increased parking there. In addition to that, we've identified at least a couple of places downtown where we might approach property owners just to see if there was a way to work with them after certain hours to possibly utilize their space. And then lastly, land, trying to identify any land in the area that might be suitable, trying not to take away from commercial property that might be buildable and usable, but at the same time trying to increase parking availability with additional spaces. So I don't have a full-fledged plan for you tonight, but I do know it's something we're working diligently on, and I do think the first phase of that is to try to increase the number of marked spaces, maybe along Railroad. We could do that pretty quickly and easily, and the others just would be a little more time-consuming, but that's what we're currently working on.
Thank you.
Yes,
Will
sir.
that space over by the the water tower be considered? I remember when I first came on the board, there was a plan to make that an employee parking lot. We never did, but
Well,
there was some talk of it.
We do, the plan that I saw in existence, and I still have it, is one Tom Harwell put together, that basically you'd enter in off of Railroad, and there was some diagonal spacing, and it would carry a drive-through Water Tower Park onto Jones. Assuming council doesn't have an issue with us looking at that, my only concern was, it's between residential property, so if it's not problematic to look at that, we would certainly consider it, and we have discussed it as a potential for land we already own.
We do, and of course, we do have that public service parking that goes on, out here during the weekends and stuff. And they could park somewhere else on the weekend to allow more parking in the area, because once we get the community room back open, people will be having events there, and they'll just be there for a couple of hours or whatever. But it would be good if they could have the adjacent parking spaces to that,
That will definitely, present a challenge when the rentals start back up,
Oh, yeah.
because that is something we haven't had to consider, particularly with use right out front of the building.
The intersection of Depot and Church is the most dangerous intersection in town. You cannot see from the right.
Well,
Cannot see at all.
We definitely, that is part of the consideration now. To do away with the parking spaces in the back of the public safety building would mean, trying to make sure that we offset that with other spaces elsewhere. But that is definitely on the list as we look at this sort of holistic parking approach to how we might want to address that. And obviously, I've talked to you all about making that, turning that back into a two-way, where traffic is going two ways in that section of Church Street. So we'll obviously looking at that, and we'll be back with recommendations there as well.
Terry, I would like to say, most cities and towns, even municipalities, most cities, they have like meters or parking meters. And I'm not saying that we need to go to that. I don't believe in it that we don't need to go that far, not here in our town with no meters. But I think that we can have some sort of time limit that you can place on parking to accommodate some of the problem that we have.
Our classes on Wednesday nights have a different place to park. They're there for 4 hours every Wednesday night. And that class is enlarging weekly. We've been doing it for 10 years. They have a very difficult time finding parking spaces.
I think that was sure enough would help us out some if we had a time limit. Then you had to look at the fact that you had to have somebody to monitor that,
Well,
that time.
That
would be a challenge right by itself.
It is a challenge, and the issue is that most time parking spaces, the time frame is not monitored between like 5 p.m. at night till, I'm just saying, like 8 o'clock in the morning. So most of the challenges we'll experience will be at night.
Okay.
And therefore, you don't see a lot of timed parking enforced after business hours, after regular business hours. But if council wants us to look at that, we certainly can.
What would you do, like me, parking a parking space all day long? Do I have to pay a fee to park?
So there are places that do that, that charge basically you buy a permit to be able to park there. But as small as our downtown is, honestly, I think that might hurt businesses more than it would help.
Yeah.
I think it
Also, we have a lot more trash on the streets.
Yes.
We have a lot more dog traffic on that pavement, on the sidewalks, and it's overflowing. Come down here on Sunday morning sometime. I pick up trash often. It's interesting.
Well, we're definitely, as staff, trying to monitor, knowing that the downtown public trash cans get utilized much more than they ever have before. So trying to find a good fit for making sure that we empty those routinely. We're still working on it and appreciate when you all let us know that they're overflowing so we can get those emptied as well. But if council is okay with us continuing to put together a proposal for you, we can certainly do that. And part of that, we can get underway by trying to just increase some additional spaces along the side of the street down here in the downtown area.
Terry, when do you think that she will have some type of proposal, her and Brian put together so that we can look at it?
I think, well, planning's, they've done most of their part. It's going to be a matter of now of a collective effort between the police department, fire department, myself, all of us getting together to make sure, obviously planning is still involved, but taking those different areas and trying to get it together. I would say we could definitely have a very good update. It may not be complete, all the way finished by the May meeting.
Okay.
Are we gonna go on and mark those places?
I definitely
I
think,
mean, that's something simple. I know
Right.
we'll add 100 spaces, but it will add some.
assuming that I don't hear anyone really voice opposition to that tonight, I think we can move forward with that pretty quickly.
Well, have we had any conversations with the landowner aside Family Dollar, Dollar General? the one on
That's
the
part of our ongoing
All right, that's what I wanted to do.
conversations.
Well, I'll just make a couple of comments. I have absolutely no interest in paid parking, none whatsoever. I know I'm only one vote, but I'm not even going there. That would do nothing but hurt our businesses.
I agree.
What we've got is, we've got a good problem to have.
Amen.
We have a very busy downtown, and there's gonna always be some people who don't like the bars. So be it, everybody's got their opinion, but we've got a good problem here. And we're gonna have more of a problem with tiebreakers coming, because they are gonna bring in the people. So we need to find a way, if we want our downtown to be what we've set, what this board's been working on ever since I've been on this board, then we need to figure out a plan, not next year, not 5 years from now. We need to figure out a plan now so that we can come up with a way for these people to park before these businesses decide they're going to leave the winter. And that will happen if they continue to grow. Now, there may be one or two, maybe they're planted and maybe they're not going anywhere. But we need to come up with a plan soon.
Well, that's
Figure
why,
out how we're going to get these people parked.
that's exactly why, with the most recent announcement of the additional business coming, that we felt like we needed to, in some of my individual discussions with you all, move that along, because as soon as rentals do start back, we know that we're going to have a real challenge, even much more than we currently have. So we will definitely have an update for you. I think we can go ahead with what I'll call phase one, marking additional spaces, get that underway, see how that might help. And then if you all get feedback or think of things along the way, please let me know, because if there are things that we can add and check into as we formulate the plan, certainly we welcome those.
Also too, Terry, what is going to be the cost of the demolition of that house that's on the property now that we own? Have anybody, do we know?
You're talking about across the street?
Yeah,
That we
across the
did-
street,
That we
yeah.
demolished this morning? That we demolished this morning?
Go.
Hey.
It was on the
This morning,
ground,
so it happened.
Mr. Williams reported at 9:30 it was
Well,
down.
so much for me riding through town, huh?
And we did, our folks did it.
Okay.
So obviously there are costs associated, but it was done in-house, and now,
Well, amen. That's even better.
yes, so
I need to come on this side of town more.
things
I will
were,
tomorrow morning when I bring my son back to school.
things were, things were happening. They got started this morning, so trying to just again, knowing that we've got all these other things happening, trying to keep up with the exciting things that are taking place.
And again, too, I'm like Mark. I do echo the same sentiment. You know, I'm not in favor of any type of paid parking, meter parking, or anything of that nature. Because, like you said, we're in a good place now, and we want to keep going, and hopefully other people want to come in. And so, for me, is looking maybe some more places to open up here. You know, so. It's a start. I know we had a groundbreaking out there, and welcome Farm Bureau over, and so, you know, some more good things are happening, and you know.
Vanessa's is having their ribbon cutting this Thursday.
Right. So
That's
next
Junior
door.
Smith's
yeah.
mother.
I understand she's already very busy.
Oh, yes. That's
So-
a good job. Good job.
So,
And I will make a comment. I know we're looking at what Mr. Moore had mentioned, but I've come through here a number of times the last two or 3 weeks just to check on that parking there. And for some reason, they don't park past that last parking space. And you could easily go down, I'm guessing 6, 7, 8, 9 more cars.
I don't know if
Hard to believe that people follow the rules
I know.
so good.
Yeah.
But they do. Because every time, I mean, I've come through here 10, 11
Yes.
o'clock at night, I've
Yes.
come through in the afternoon, just to look at that. And I will say, there is parking open on this side of Railroad.
right.
And I don't know if folks just don't want to walk across the tracks and get to where they're going, but there is some parking further down.
And I think part of the, right, and I think part of the things, just in addition to the spaces themselves that we're discussing are potential signage, and I don't mean lots of signage, but like little maps, kiosks, showing you where potential areas for parking might be, so that people know. There may be some areas that parking currently exists, but people might not want their employees to park there because it may be a little dark for them. And so if that means us adding
That's what I
some
was
light to make it feel safer, then,
That's why we need crossings, walkways across the railroad track. If you're going from downtown toward the post office, you have to go in the road, get another side of the tracks. And senior citizens like me have difficulty going across those railroad tracks.
well, I think you could easily twist something as you're trying to go across those railroad
holes.
tracks.
I tell you what, the ones they just fixed, they need to come back and refix them.
Bumpy.
I'm telling you, they'll tear a car to pieces.
We all need to just do what we can right now and then look to opportunities to increase parking downtown. I noticed just how much they cooperate over there at Local Oak, lots of cars in that section behind
Right.
them. And that's good cooperation between businesses in the area, to use that parking, because they're not using it at night, and the people from Local use it, so that's a good cooperation there. But any spaces we can open up downtown, whether it's by marking or whatever, and just like I said, those public safety people can park over, somewhere else in order to open up some parking here too,
I noticed that the old businesses have been asked to leave before they start renovation, so.
I do know that there's changes
One in particular I
afoot.
use quite often, very reasonable cost. He's been asked to move, so they're trying to change the zoning on Main Street to allow him to move to another location. I think Clint Barber's gonna, I'm talking about the guy that does appliances. He does the best deal in town. They're gonna bring up, I think, soon about the house at the corner of Chapman and Main Street, making that commercial.
Gotcha.
Then he can move his business there. Yeah, but anybody used him before? He's very reasonable, very reasonable.
very personal.
Yes, he is.
And his
We-
wife.
I don't think we want it to happen to us like it happened to our neighbor to the north. They sold the parking lots all around the fire department, police departments, town hall, and everywhere. Now the employees have to walk a minimum of 2 blocks, sometimes
At
3
least,
blocks to go
right.
to work. Rain or snow, don't make no difference. There's no parking like it used to be when I was over there.
Well, you're gonna have that same problem if you're not careful here in our town with the business at night that you were speaking of that need a parking space. If we got people, we got ones parking in a parking space 24 hours a day, don't ever move. I mean, they don't have no place to park at.
Well,
So
yeah.
I think Terry was saying that our problem is at night, not during the day. So I think that what we have to do is, Terry, have your team to focus on night parking and see if anyone is parking 24 hours, beyond 5 o'clock until the next morning, those vehicles there 24 hours a day, straight, and see what we need to do from there.
Well, now, we do have, as Ms. Councilwoman Robertson mentioned, we do have a few Department of Public Safety, I believe that's who, their
Right,
cars.
that's right.
But at the time they started parking, it wasn't an issue. Well, it's now an issue. I'm certainly sure we can speak with them. Obviously, we have a couple or three of our own vehicles that are parked out here in front of our building because those folks work in this building. But I think we have a variety of possibilities, and I will consider that a positive. So I hope to be back in May with at least a good formulated plan, though it may not be completely formulated.
Well, our neighbor to the north, Johnny, you talking about park there. They have sections called controlled residential parking. And you have to pay to park there just $5 a year for your permit. But you can only park there 2 hours. And if you stay over 2 hours, you are towed. Because I know from experience, the chief had me one day, it had been in effect for about 6 weeks. Nobody was paying any mind to it. He told me, he said, go over there and make believers out of them. I towed 27 cars that day. Town hall was, or the city police department was full of mad people that day, I can tell you. All right.
All right.
We'll mention one other thing since Tony mentioned about an intersection. The intersection of Cooper and Forbes. There at Cooper and Forbes, there's a great big bush
Okay.
that's right there. If you're coming from the post office on Forbes, approaching Cooper, there's a big bush that's sitting right there. You cannot see around it. It's been there for years. It was Miss Hazleton's lot, yes. Yeah. Okay.
We will definitely take a look at it.
Yeah. That being said, item number 12 is items for future agendas or work sessions. Not hearing any. Okay, item 13, reports from department heads. Any one of the staff members would like to make a report or so forth?
Good evening, Mayor. This is Anthony. I wanted to just kind of give everybody a brief update on the ERP software install. We will actually begin this week having the SNA on site, and it's been a long process, and we're excited to have them start coming in and looking at our processes and seeing how we can use our software to get better. And so this week is kind of the kickoff. With COVID and everything, we've had to retool and come up with new ways of working together. It's probably not been ideal for a software conversion, but I think overall everything's gone very smooth to this point. As you know, it's been several years in the making. One of the most recent or upcoming changes that you'll see will be in the utility billing, and that's one of the first phases of the project. We will have a sample utility bill be going out to the customers, kind of explain why we have a new look and what's going on with the process. And so we hope to have that new bill go out last of May. So the June billing, the one that's due in June, will be the first bill that has the new format under the new software. And so I just kind of wanted to update the council on that process and let you know that, things are starting to pick up speed, and we'll be seeing a lot of changes over the next several months, all the way into September.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on down to item number 14.
Can we hear about the graveyard and the site, the multi-purpose site? Do we have any updates on those two things?
I can give you an update on the cemetery expansion. We have, on paper, have a layout of the cemetery expansion and what it will look like. In order to get a drive, a roadway, where we need to get it to the furthest back part of the new area, we need part of the land that CMSD has historically used for some time. Willie and I have met with Chuck, and there's no problem. They don't use all of that land anymore, so there's no issue with us getting some of what we need back. We just need to make that formally happen. And in addition, we're going to have to move part of the gate for the county solid waste collection site. So we need to get in touch with the county, and once we kind of figure out how much of that will be moved, get those things to happen. So once we know that we can secure where the driveway needs to go, then I think we can actually start going out there and shooting the sites for some of the layout. That's going to take some internal workings, but once we get that done and well underway, that'll be a good start towards getting us where we need to be in order to open that up.
As far as the multi-purpose building, we've had no,
I'm going to defer to Mr. Williams, who's in the conference room. Ben, do you want to give an update on that?
We've had some conversations on some of those property owners, nothing yet has come to fruition or willing to sell those. We're continuing to search and have some conversations with some other folks about those properties.
Ben, it's always exciting when you come through the door,
Have you talked to anyone beyond the list that we had on the list of?
No, sir, we have not gone beyond that list. There have been, I take that back, there was someone that came to us asking questions about just their potential use of their property and utilities within the area, and we had some conversation with them, but they were taking that into consideration with their options for their own personal property and what they like to do with it. So, asked them to keep us in mind.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. Okay. Announcements?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have next Monday, the Planning and Zoning Board will meet here at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, the Board of Adjustment meeting is scheduled for here in the Town Assembly Room. Would say that then on Tuesday, the 20th through Thursday, the 22nd, is the City Vision 2021 Virtual Summit. I did include in your packet some information in the preliminary agenda. Several of you have let me know that you'd like for me to sign you up. If you have not and would like for me to, just let me know before you leave tonight, and I'll get you signed up for that. 2 weeks from tonight, we do have 2 meetings. At 5 o'clock will be the closed session for the manager's evaluation. And then after that, at 6 o'clock, will be the council manager budget progress meeting here in Town Hall Assembly Room. And then on Tuesday, April the 27th, the Recreation Advisory Board will meet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Don. All right, moving on down to item 15. Mr. Counselor, do you have comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I have no further comments tonight.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. The way we normally sit is the next one, I think, Mr. Moore.
No comment. Thank you.
Ms. Veronica?
Yeah, we got something to say. I had the pleasure of serving on the nominating committee for NCLM. Kind of couldn't hook up with Ms. Moore, but we did get some Eastern North Carolina representation in the slate of candidates. Thank you, Terry, for working today. I've been calling her all day long. Mr. Beast has a project in Pitt County. Mark, you know about it, you know, that our whole town council was working with about those sanitizers, and it'll be back and forth, back and forth. I think final approval came about 5 o'clock today. So it probably won't be able to do what was anticipated, but we will, you know, we're proud of the project. And I've been spending a great deal of time working with the Say Yes to COVID project. I put one of these flyers on your seats. These are free home COVID tests that you can take in the privacy of your home. Results are right there in your home. And Mr. Moy has worked with me on this project. And last week we received 601 kits for Winterville, Aden, and Griffin. And at this time I have about 37. So the community has been very welcoming to this project and been picking them up. We have, I know I've also worked with Ivory Mewborn and Angela Gay out of Grifton. And so that's why we've been able to get that many, and they're going very fast. I do have some more. If someone would like some, just let me know. And thank you for everything everybody does to keep our community well.
Mr. Smith?
Terry, can you provide an update on where we are with our staff and vaccinations, and where we are on a reopening plan? As you are aware, I work with a number of school systems, and as of this week, I no longer have to take temperatures of the kids coming into our classrooms or coming in to our vehicles. There are no more attestation forms that have to be completed. We've reduced the distance from 6 feet to 3 feet, and my understanding is they're having trouble getting people in to get vaccinated. So as far as I'm concerned, it's time to reopen.
When you say reopen, I assume you mean full-time,
I do.
because we are reopened. I would say, I don't know that half of our staff has been vaccinated,
Have they
but
had the opportunity?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Haven't even made them take time off, let them go on work time to go get vaccinated. So also they're receiving 8 hours if they get vaccinated of paid time to be able to take if they get vaccinated. So we've certainly tried to make it as easy as possible.
And I think and that's great. I realize we can't force anybody, we can't make anybody, but we can't just stay part-time, and I'm not just talking about what we're doing here, I'm just talking about everywhere. People have to choose whether they want to be vaccinated or not. If they don't, so be it. It's time to move forward. And I haven't been to the ballpark since Saturday, but, you know, we've got the bleachers roped off. I mean, it looks like there's been a couple of murders out there. The parents are all clustered together in the middle because we have the bleachers blocked off. I'm getting an earful every single night. I just don't see any reason why that tape has to be on the bleachers out there. I mean, these are adults.
I understand where you're coming from. It puts us in a precarious position because the schools may have reduced their social distancing to 3 feet, but we don't have anything that I'm aware of that says social distancing as a general practice has been reduced to 3 feet. So we're still trying to ensure that we do the best we can to follow the guidelines that still come from not only the State Department of Health and Human Services, but federally as well. If council's ready for us to open full-time, we can probably make that happen.
I mean, I go to other parks and I realize some of the bleacher system is larger. I've been going to football games for 6 weeks now. We're all up on top of each other. Yeah, people are, well, most are wearing masks. I just feel like, you know, those bleachers being open at least allows for more space.
If we open the bleachers and we put X's down where people can sit, anybody have issues? I'm sure people will have issues with that, but it's better than nothing.
I've got issues with that too, because, you know, again, these are parents.
I understand. Again, it puts staff in a precarious position because I totally understand what you're saying, but as much as the citizens would like things to be a certain way, I've got staff that would like to come to work and feel that they're as safe as possible. I'm not suggesting that every employee has concerns, but I mean, I know for a fact I have several that do, so I'm trying to wade that water, so to speak, has been a challenge. I think we can do it. I think we can continue to try to make things available. I mean, we've been, for the most part, aside from recreation programs, our services have been all but happening at a full capacity. So I'm open.
So we have recreation staff that's concerned?
I don't know that I want to pinpoint any specific department, but there are employees that are concerned, absolutely, that have been concerned the whole time. Now, so a lot of those folks that have concerns were proactive and went and got vaccinated, so they have tried to address concerns they have through protecting themselves, also the folks they work with. But again, I totally understand where you're coming from. This has been no picnic from our standpoint in trying to please an entire town of folks while getting them the services that they need. So again, I think in terms of opening our offices, we've taken steps to try to put a barrier, a physical barrier between a lot of our staff that sees most of the folks that will come in. I think we've tried to position ourselves to make that situation in preparation for opening fully. In terms of the bleachers, you know, Evan, you're sitting in here, I'm not putting you on the spot, but trying to maneuver the guidance that we receive at the state and again federal levels in line with what we do every day, it's certainly challenging at times.
But the park is open,
Yes.
of course, and so, because of the bleachers, what you're saying, but, I mean, most of the parents are bringing chairs to sit in, I assume, right? And not just standing. I haven't been out yet, so most are in chairs, and they're still clustered together. Okay, so, I mean, there you go.
I'm one of those that didn't have a chair, so I have to stand
So
up.
you stand there, okay, all right, but.
Starting tomorrow night.
Starting tomorrow night. I've been watching it too, because, of course, you know, we're in a federal building and we're still closed to the public. We've been closed over a year. We don't have any guidance yet. And we've been working with all people through appointments and working from home. And hopefully in the next month or two, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get back to some normalcy. Like you said, you know, people are getting their shots, and there are a lot of people that are not getting their shots. You know, you still have people that, you know, don't want to adhere to it, but that's their choice, you know, of course. But, you know, I'm a sports person. You know, I like to go and watch. go watch softball. Watch softball down in Myrtle Beach, and the bleachers down there, some are open and some are not, so, but it's kind of like, they'll tell you to move over. People don't want you up on them, so, but if you got a chair, you can kind of sit anywhere you want to. So, I mean, it's a 50-50 split, I reckon, but until I reckon we get some more guidance, I don't know what we can do,
Well, the compromise would be every other seat is bleachers. Leave it vacant. It's a compromise.
Mr. Boyd?
No, I was listening to what Mr. Moore was saying. I was listening to what Councilman Smith was saying. I was listening to what Councilman Hine was saying. And then, my concern is our staff. To me, that's very, very, I have mentioned that in the past, and I still mention today. Staff here is very important to me. Yes, and don't get me wrong, in our town, in our community also, and what the need of for our youth. Our youth definitely need an outlet, but we don't want to bring them out too early. I'm no doctor, I'm no scientist. I listen to what they say, and I try to do what they say. Is it guaranteed? Don't know, but so far it works for me. I try to do what they say, and I'm listening to what's the next step to do, to open up, and then gradually go in. Some of the local churches that I have attended, they begin to open up gradually. They not just letting everybody come in. Just let a few come in and that's it. I think what they'll do, they ask the members to sign up early. And once they get that number, even though you are a member, you can't come in because, you don't want to be, you want to stay social distant as much as possible. This thing's still here. And until it...
People are going to get vaccinated.
Yes, and I agree with you with that. I know several ones, I know people that I know very closely refuse to go. So what do you do? Well,
I got mine early.
yeah, I did too.
I was scared.
But what I'm just saying is for our staff member, I'm talking about our staff, the ones here in our town, this town right here, how we should operate. I think, Terry, what you're doing right now, I think you're doing the right thing. And what you have in place right now, I think is good. And I think we don't need to rush and just open everything up all at once. I think it should be a gradual development to open everything back up. It's just my opinion. I think we ought to do it gradually. And we got to make sure that we talk to our staff to make sure that where they are.
Mark, do you have any recommendations as how this could be done safely? How we could increase the amount of people or whatever? Anything that could be done? You don't have any ideas?
No,
I-
open it up.
Of course, you know I'm not there, so I don't
Opportunity
see
to
it.
be vaccinated, let's move on.
At Conley High School, we had a large crowd.
We'll be 2025, the way we're going, trying to get things back.
Conley's open. And
Getting back from reports from the council members, Mr. Hines, you're next.
Oh, you were asking me a while ago about my report.
I went right
I was
along.
thinking that you were asking me for a comment on what was said and done.
That's what we were on, according
Oh,
to the
no.
agenda, we were on
Okay,
reports
no, I'm
from
sorry.
the reports from the council members.
Okay, then back up. You didn't say, I didn't hear you say that. I thought you saw me that I was getting ready to say something. I was going to make a comment on what was being said.
Well,
And I
okay.
thought you were looking at me to make my comment.
And what I tried to do is go right down the line, just like we were sitting up there.
Yes, sir. Oh, I just wanted to say this. I just wanted to thank the electric department on responding to an outage that we had a couple days ago. We called and they respond. Lights came back on. He gave us the time, approximately a time. Mr. Robert gave us the time, approximate time that he think that it should be on. And it came back on like 15 or 20 minutes before he predicted. And I'd like to commend them on an outstanding job.
They do a great job.
Also, I'd like to ask Terry about the election for 2021. Have we found out anything about that on, are we going to be able to do the election? And you're going to do that a little bit later? That's
No, I
on
can,
your list?
I'd be glad to give you an update now. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Harvey's not letting me know any different. Pitt County Board of Elections is moving forward as if the elections are taking place. So,
This year?
yes, sir.
Okay.
We did reach out to our representatives, as you all asked us to do. You saw the letters that went out. I don't know where that movement is at state level. I need to check. I have not done that this week. But we are preparing as if the elections will take place this year. Don?
Oh, yeah.
I just add one thing. The Pitt County website, which comes through the state, also shows 2 different dates for the filing period in different kinds of localities here in Pitt County. Ours, I think, is July the 2nd it opens, whereas Greenville's, which goes on districts, isn't until later. So they're obviously looking at some differentiation because of those. But everything that I've gotten, and I've had some conversations with Board of Elections, there's been no put the brakes on or anything.
That is a good point. We will ask you to take notice, particularly any of you that will be running for office, that there are 2 different filing dates. We'll get it to everyone so you know. But there is a filing date for entities that do not have districts and a filing date for those entities that do have districts. So Don has given me the nod. He'll get that information out to all of you so that you are aware of when those dates are.
And I'd like to say also what Ms. Hawkins spoke of tonight about humanity, community, and dignity. I think that kind of fits in what we was talking about a few minutes ago about opening up. Those are the type of things that we might have to, they don't mind getting in. We have to take into consideration anything that we do, any decision that I made, let me say that I made, had to put all these things in mind. So that was good. That was a good point that you brought up tonight, those 3 items.
Okay, Mr. Hines?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, is Mr. Sutton here?
He's in the conference room.
Robert, can you step out?
Isn't it exciting waiting for them to come out of the door? It's
Come
like,
on down, Robert.
at least he was in there.
Uh-oh. So he's not anymore, huh?
There he
Hey, there you go, Robert. Mr. Sutton, just want to say thank you to you and your workers. I know this is Lyman Workers Appreciation Day or Week, April the 12th through April the 18th. And, you know, you guys are always behind the scene and whatnot, but we want to say thank you. And we appreciate what y'all do. As Mr. Moore just alluded to, getting services back on to people and everything else. And so we appreciate you all. You know,
I do.
that may go unnoticed sometimes, but we do. You keep the lights on. But we want to thank you, from us.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.
And also too, of course, you know, we had our second round of shots that we helped facilitate for the community here in Winterville, the ones that couldn't get out. We did 101 shots initially on the first go-round, and then on the second go-round, the comeback shots, we had 88 people that came back. So I still think that's a success.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Good sister.
at least the people that didn't show back up, they're covered, but not as fully covered as you would be if you would get the second part of it, but they're still covered. At least they did get something of it, so.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate that.
Every
And-
life is important.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
And everyone you helped.
We want to encourage and, you know, picking back, I want to encourage anybody that don't have a shot, please look at, I think Walgreens, you can go through Vidant's site, get the shot. You know, again, it's your choice, but if we want to, as Mark said, move on, we need to get these shots, people. So that's
do-
my 2 minutes there.
Okay, I thank you. Ms. Parker?
I do want to piggyback on the conversations about the shots, and I'm looking at the kit Ms. Robertson has, and we have had some employees that have obtained those kits from the health department, and for a variety of reasons have utilized those in recent days. So I've had an occasion to sort of go through that with them to kind of see how it works and what the results look like, et cetera. So we have some information, Councilwoman Robertson, that we can help get out there to folks as well. That may make some folks more comfortable if they're in the privacy of their own home getting it done. But we have some information, and we'll continue to put that information out there. Mayor, I want to say welcome back. It is so, so good to have you and see you in person. Yes.
Look, I'm very glad to be back. I was thinking about it. I missed October, November, and December's meetings. But I made the others, starting in January, I made them, and I told Don at the last meeting, I said, and Evan here has been a backbone for me, but I said, if nothing happens, I'm gonna be at the town hall for the April meeting, and I made it.
Well, I feel like the world was righted now that you're here with us, so we're so glad to have you back, and it's good to see you. And I feel like the whole group's back together now, which is wonderful. So,
Well, I really appreciate everyone with the town and the thoughts and so forth. I tell you, this has been a major lifestyle change for me. And, but with the good Lord's help, I'm accepting it, and I'm just glad to be back. With that being said, do I hear a motion, we adjourn?
So moved.
so I'm gonna say Councilman Moore made the motion, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, and I'll poll the board, starting with Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Moy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines.
Yes.
Councilwoman Robertson.
Yes.
And Councilman Moore. Amen. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.